All right. This is our why introductory slide. And really we wanted to get quickly to explaining what we think the meat is of this program and what the opportunities that participants will have in this program to learn and to explore being part of the cohort. And so it's really 4 different layers, and I'll quickly explain those 4 layers, and again, hope and appreciate any questions that you have after this presentation. The first layer is adding to the program the opportunity to build your own individual leadership skills, to develop kind of your individual goals in terms of your own leadership, and to work on those throughout the program, both individually and in the cohort. Married with that is the same really productive and positive part of Leadership Charlottesville, which is to better understand issues and community institutions and challenges. And so the opportunity to really dig into and explore with experts and people who are working on different community issues across the 9 months of the program. And then the third component is taking your individual leadership skills and applying them to really understanding how to be community agents of change and community agents of promoting health and well-being. And so community problem solving is going to be a core part of this new program. And then the last part of it is something that we all know and recognize as important, particularly coming out into learning how to live with COVID, and that is building your network that you can rely on both for your organizational growth and development, if you're working within an organization, and your community growth and development, and really collaborating together. We call it leadership in action, and we hope this is the place where the program can really partner with LCAA and alums to think through how to give leadership in action opportunities to each cohort on a month-by-month basis. And we're looking forward to gathering a small group of Leadership Charlottesville alums to think through that a little bit more deeply between now and when the program launches in September. So our what and our why, and now we're going to transition to Frank, I believe, and into more specifics on how the program is actually going to work. Frank, over to you.
Could you go to the next slide, please? So the 3 program elements for each session, we will have an element around building your skill set in leadership, and then around learning about the community, and particularly the way the community has been successful in dealing with challenges and opportunities that we have, and then building collaborative leadership skills. So there's going to be some component of that at every one of the 10 sessions that we have. For example, if we go to the next slide, many of you have probably seen the Memorial to Enslaved Laborers at the University of Virginia, which I had the distinct honor of serving on the design team to help lead the community engagement, which was a substantial involvement of many, many different people in helping guide that every element of that memorial, then coming out of conversations with community members. So the idea would be that this is maybe a little bit of an outlier. We're going to be looking at comprehensive planning, we're going to be looking at health equity, we're going to be looking at education. But we thought it would be helpful to start off with this because we could also do a field trip and looking at how cultural competence and humility, important leadership factors, contributed to the success. The field visit, and we will have some of the people who, from the community, some of the descendants, I hope, from the community who helped bring the ideas forth of what they wanted to see in this memorial. And then we will, after the visit and some discussion about it, we will then practice some of the collaborative leadership skills, the type that are used to bring people together across sectors. I should have said at the start, I'm so privileged to be able to work with you all in doing this. I've been core faculty of the Virginia Natural Resources Leadership Institute for 20 years, but I'm excited to be able to bring my work to what has been my community since 1973, and I really look forward to it. And I think we're going to Larry next.
Yep, Frank, thank you for that helpful framing of the sort of the experience in the program. Again, my name is Larry Terry. I'm the executive director of the Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service at UVA, and have had the privilege of working with both Christine and Frank over the past year or so, and in other areas outside of sort of the Leaders Lab and its sort of growth and evolution based on Leadership Charlottesville. And for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the Cooper Center, we're an organization that's been around since 1931 and largely focused on local and state government sort of capacity building and leadership training and development. But since sort of my arrival in 2018, we've tried to place a greater emphasis on what public service and leadership looks like outside the scope of those two sort of local government and state government sectors. And so doing something like this is important for us for the mission of the Cooper Center, but also builds on things that I've done previously in my career in the space of leadership training and development that does emphasize the importance of sort of cross-sectoral collaboration in addressing both sort of community issues and opportunities. And so we're really happy to be a part of this. And so living in the space of higher education, we're often confronted with the idea of sort of what are the measurements of success, and as I like to say, what would the return on investment be for anyone who were to be a part of the Leaders Lab? And it's an important question for us to ask because, number one, we don't have a lot of time given sort of our professional and personal lives, and so a commitment is in fact an investment, and we want to be able to grow as leaders, and we want to have the ability to say, if I do join this, I know that I will be different on the other side of my 9-month experience in this space. And so that was conceptually something that was really important to us. And so to make this a differentiator from maybe other leadership programs, having these really strong indicators of short-term, medium-term, and long-term success were something that we placed an emphasis to, and tied and connected to the curriculum itself. So short-term, of course, being sort of immediately upon completion of the program. And I think even in many ways, it's my hope that even after a session, one per month, when you leave, there should be some belief that I've gained something and I can do something different. So medium term would be 1 year after the completion of the program. We want to remain connected and to be able to sort of track these things over time so we can see some of these leadership sort of personal adjustments, professional growth, whatever it might be in your case. And then the longer term is 18 months to 2 years after completion of the program. How are you seeing yourself evolve and grow as a leader and as a member of the community? So I'll sort of go over those, returns on investment, if you will. So next slide, please. So short-term success, I think as many leadership programs go, they're often seen as a sort of networking opportunity, and in turn allows us to build social capital or trust among a group. So I think that would be something right out the gate that we're hoping is a short-term outcome of this, is that we just learn more about one another. We learn more about the assets that are in the community and that are in the room, and that we're able to lean on and to trust one another moving forward. But also this sort of traditional outcome that I think comes from any leadership program like this is, how do we get a better understanding of what issues or opportunities that we are facing or have the ability to address in a community? As Frank just mentioned, in the instance where he discussed how the Memorial for Enslaved Laborers came about, that's something I can't wait to learn more about. Even as a UVA employee, there are always sort of new angles to history and reflection that we can learn from. And so having that ability to understand sort of things that we're doing as a community and creating that level of awareness, I think is certainly a short-term outcome and goal that we have. The third point here you can see is creating a personal leadership development dashboard to track individual progress. It's going to be really a foundational sort of moment on the opening session, is to how do we create a baseline for understanding who we are as individuals, and this level of self-awareness around what are my strengths, what are areas that I think that I can improve, and to be able to track that over time to see in these core areas, whether it's emotional intelligence or conflict resolution, whatever it might be, how have I grown? And where are points of emphasis that I say, I think I want to get better at X, and being able to see how we do that over time. And so this will allow us through this dashboard sort of concept to be able to do that. And then as Frank and Christine have also mentioned, is that, having this ability for community problem solving skills and to be able to use them in any of sort of the core competency areas that we've identified. So I think that that's sort of a small indicator of what short-term success will look like. Next slide, please. Medium term, as I mentioned a little bit ago, so alums maintain relationships with at least one class member. We hope that it can go beyond that. I think you'll get to know each other pretty well, and that level of connectivity, as I've seen in other leadership programs that I've either helped to create or been a part of, the alumni component is a strong vehicle for the power and sort of an ability to transfer knowledge in a leadership program. So we're hoping that alums can continue to carry this on, even in this new sort of iteration of the program. Of course, alums having a deeper understanding of community issues, as I've mentioned, and even based on some of those individual or organizational goals that you might have, over the medium term, we hope that there's some reporting of positive changes that are made as a result of, and at least correlated to your time and experience in the program, and maybe even by extension, how you've engaged with another community problem or a community opportunity given your time in the Leaders Lab. Next slide, please. And finally, our longer term hopes are, in addition to sort of community, skill building that you've done, maybe engaging more permanently or sustainably around some of the issues or opportunities that were identified, and that there's continual sort of engagement or feeding into the Leaders Lab over time that I think is important for the sustainability of any leadership program, and also the transferring, as I mentioned before, of knowledge. And so this is really what we hope in these sort of very broad categories of short, medium, and long-term outcomes. But again, it's a question that every person who has the potential to join the program is going to ask themselves, what can I expect to gain from my experience? And what we don't sort of want is to have everyone say, I had fun, but I'm not sure that I grew as a leader, or I'm not sure that I understand how I can connect to the community in a greater fashion. So hopefully with these three buckets and sort of packaging that with the curriculum and your networks and the growth that we have and the trust we have with one another, that will be one of the intended outcomes. And so I believe that my slides are done.
Yes, thanks, Larry. It's back to me.
All right.
I probably should have started with this slide, which I did not, but this is the team that has, as I said, worked really hard to develop this program, and it certainly is going to be a maiden voyage this fall. So there may be some, some adjusting that we do as we learn too how the program works, and we're excited about that. So I'm going to cover some of the kind of nuts and bolts and timeline of the program, because I'm sure that is of major interest to people. If you look at the left side, oh, I'm sorry, I think I see a hand raised. Is it Natasha? I see a hand up. Yes.
It's me. Before you go on to this, and I'm sorry I had to pop off, you have talked about the cost of the program already?
We have not. We're just about to get to that.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Okay, how are we doing on time, actually? Oh, pretty good. Okay, so the announcement on the left side of the screen is pretty much where we are right now. These dates are all approximate, but fairly close. So we plan on opening up the application process through the Chamber's website on or about April 18th, so in about a month from now, or less maybe. The application deadline, we're looking at around July 1st. Throughout the summer, we will be reviewing the process, notifying applicants, getting tuition payments in, and then announcing the cohort on September 7th. I believe the first date for our first meeting is, I think, September 9th. So as we go through the year, the programs and sessions will encompass As Larry kind of outlined, cultural competence and collaboration in October, each month we'll have a focus, and you can see some of those focuses. That will take us monthly through May. These meetings are approximately 8:30 to 5 on a Friday, once a month. And then at the end, we will have a talk back and graduation scheduled in May. The tuition, which Natasha thankfully brought up, is going to be $2,900. This is a really an increase in programmatic expense for us, and we realize that it is an increase in tuition. We're confident in the value of the program, and we are working right now on some fundraising opportunities to secure some level of scholarship fund. So what we don't want to have happen is we don't want people to not apply if they believe they're unable to cover the $2,900 tuition, or their employer is unable to cover the tuition. We're looking for the best class that represents the broadest part of the community in all ways. And so we encourage people to apply for this program without regard to the financial cost. And then we will hopefully have some more information coming about some support for those who need support. We expect this program to have about 30 or so in the cohort. So that gives you an idea of how large the program has been. Over the years in the past, it's been both larger and smaller, I think, than that. But we feel like that's the right size for people to maximize their performance and their satisfaction with the program. We do have a web page that just went live yesterday on the Chamber's website. So we will be keeping that updated. The Chamber's e-newsletter has all the latest information when anything that we do comes out. So if you're not already subscribed to that, I invite you to do